Welcome all. Thank you for joining me on this lovely study abroad information session about Australia. Just a quick little bit about me, because I am one of the primary contacts for Australia, is this is a program that doesn't send a director. And the virtual mentor shifts from year to year, and sometimes it may be me. So my name is Jessica Dickow. I'm an assistant director in the Center for Global Education. I manage all Greece, Japan, and in the spring, Australia and Ireland, and the nuclear Japan short-term, but I also manage our inbound programs for short-term or year-long or semester-long students. And I kind of lead the charge on scholarships and returnee programming and visa and notary pieces, as well as postgraduate discussions, because I spent 10 years teaching in South Korea. I'm an alumni, St. Ben's alumni. Did a couple study abroads while I was here too. I also got a couple people in my family. Zoe was actually born in South Korea, so I can speak to having different kinds of life experiences after graduating. And Tara is a late addition to the family. I work with XPD and career services, so that they do strengths. So I put it on there because we do this in our office. Okay, so moving on to the reason you're here. Talk about Australia. So our Spring Up program is with the University of Notre Dame, Australia. They're not connected to Notre Dame here. They have ties, but they are not the same institution. They're not a piece of Notre Dame here. So, but they do have a fair number of students from Notre Dame studying there, who are frequently there while you're there. How many were?
We had 4 in Notre Dame with us.
Okay. And let me ask, quickly, just who we have in the room. I'm curious what your major is.
My name too. I'm Anya.
Okay.
And I'm exercise science PPT right now. So.
Okay, great. Yeah. What kind of drew you to Australia?
I just always wanted to go there.
Okay.
So.
Okay, awesome. And our fabulous alum.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Carissa. Studied abroad in Australia last spring. I'm a chemistry major with a theater minor.
And why did you want to go to Australia?
Same reason. I just always really wanted to go to Australia.
Okay. I mean, it's a fascinating place.
Yeah.
There you are. Okay. Yeah, so you live with primarily other American students, and we'll talk about this a little more, but sometimes you did have a student from Ireland.
Yeah, except she went to Notre Dame.
Okay, so so she was a study abroad student on a study abroad?
Kind of. It was like international.
Sure.
Study abroad. Yeah,
sure. Okay. So one of the things that I think is very interesting about our location, Perth, or Fremantle, which is right next to Perth, it's like a suburb of Perth, is that Perth is one of the most remote capitals, like, of an area in the world. So it's quite a ways. It's, Australia is more on the scope of the US in terms of size. So Perth to Sydney is 5 hours flight, 4.5.
yeah, about that, yeah.
A good jump. But how long did it take you to get to Bali?
It was only like 3 hours, honestly. It was not that.
Yeah, you're closer in some ways than you are to much of the rest of Australia. And Western Australia, of course, is the largest state in Australia. It's quite spread out. There isn't a huge population. Lots of extra space there. One of my favorite memories is being there and seeing, we were out in the outback, and just, there was no light pollution, and the sunsets were, I've never wished I had more artistic talent to be able to paint the sunset, I have no artistic talent, so I never was able to recreate it the way I wanted to, but it was just, there weren't any buildings, there aren't a lot of trees because it's very dry, so it was just huge and expansive with like fiery red at the bottom all the way to just bright stars at the top. I mean, did you get a chance to experience some of that?
Not exactly, but we didn't make it out that far.
But you had some pretty fabulous sunsets on
Yeah.
the coast. I'll show a picture in a moment of you doing that. On this program, you have quite a broad selection of classes you can take. You are required to take 2 classes on this program. One is just a 1 credit class that's managed by the virtual mentor here at CSB SJU, so it's online, it's in Canvas. It starts with orientation and then sort of continues through that process to sort of think about what's happening in this experience and what it might mean. And then every student who is studying abroad at UNDA takes Australia History and Society. How was that course?
It was so fun. Our professor was the funnest person ever. She was from Scotland, who like lives in Australia, and she was just so cool. We asked her on the first day, we're like, what should we call you? And like the professor or teacher, she goes, oh, call me Bob. And it was so fun. I miss her so much.
Yeah, she was, I mean, the class I got to sit in on, she seemed like a really cool person to take a class with. And I think one of her primary areas of study was actually US history.
She is very fascinated with like the US and like John F. Kennedy specifically.
Yeah, I think that was sort of her area of
Yeah.
research. And so it's kind of an interesting piece, right? That she comes from a 3rd place and is also then able to help triangulate across, catch this before it blacks out on us completely. After that, after you have signed up for those 2 classes, then you have 3 additional classes that you can take, your choice. Lots of students complete their theology while they're there, maybe their artistic expression. You can, of course, get HEs, SWs. Those things are pretty easy. There are some natural worlds, but I suspect you have already completed your natural world.
I think so, yeah.
You probably took a science class.
Yeah.
So to see more of the classes, if you go to the place, the portal, the global portal, where you would log in, create a profile, and then go to the academics section. This is where you would apply for the program, but this is where you can find out lots of different information about the program. You go to the academics section. There are links to this page and this page so that you can kind of look and see what kind of classes would be available. You can easily sort of sort by program or sort by designation you might be interested in. At the UNDA offerings, they're still in their 24. They haven't flipped to their 25 classes yet because their semester starts in February. So this program runs February to June. It's kind of important to know that it's a little bit of a later end in the sense that if you have internships or other things that you were planning to start earlier, finals don't happen until June and you can't miss your finals for most of the classes. So, but if you do want to go and look at what kind of classes would be offered, you pop over, select their first semester. So they don't run a September to May school year across 2 years. They start in February and then run all the way to December. So 1 full calendar year. Yep, and you just want to make sure you're looking at the proper campus. They do have 2 campuses. They have one in Sydney, which is much smaller. Okay. Do you have any questions about that?
Not so far.
This is the map. So UNDA sort of took over warehouses. It's a relatively new school. It started in the late 90s, early 2000s as a university, and they moved into this old warehouse center in a historic city. Like Fremantle is very historic. Most of the buildings are sort of cannot be altered significantly. So they have this really different quality, and so how they have to work with them. But they have some very cool solutions. Some of them are a little bit older. Some of them have gotten distinctly more modern, but they have to do some work to preserve that historic nature of the downtown. So it's kind of spread out throughout Fremantle, but this is actually, it looks kind of big, but it's really very walkable, very easy, and it's flat.
Yeah.
And the coast is just right over here. Most of, like the study abroad office where your supports would be in here, and the dorm is just down here, right? Oh, here,
Yeah, ND12.
yeah, ND12. So pretty easy in the library, it's just a long study area. Which one did you normally take classes in? Like
Mine were kind of all over. I had one class in ND9, and then, history was, I don't remember the exact one, but it was on Henry Street.
Mhm.
And then I had another class up in the corner way over there in ND32, I think it was. So yeah, I was kind of all over the place,
But still, what was your longest commute from the dorms to your class?
my chem lab was up then one of those buildings on Fillmore Street, and it
Okay.
took, the quickest I was able to walk, it was 5 minutes. So,
So, not far,
yeah,
possibly.
I was walking really fast that day,
Okay,
but it was maybe 10 minutes if I went at a little slower pace, but
sure,
like, so that's like one end to the other, 5 minutes.
but maybe no worse than being at Centennial and needing to catch the bus that directly.
Not that long at all.
So pretty walkable, pretty easy. It's a lovely space. Here are some of the images from campus. The classrooms are all smart, so they, like most classrooms these days, especially since COVID. There's a lot of student support services you can take advantage of. The gym was open to you all, right?
Yeah,
It was free. That's been a change in the recent years. You used to have to free, which is awesome. And there's a lot of study areas, a lot of courtyards in the area that are very pretty. Air conditioning is not as common, which is fine much of the year.
yeah, when we first get there,
It's a little warm.
yeah. Thankfully, so this bottom picture on the bottom right, that's like, yeah, you have, one of my finals was in there. And thankfully our finals are in like the winter, rainy, colder season. But like right now it's their summer and they're doing finals right now, so I can't imagine like having a final in there in summer, but so yeah.
So this area is not air conditioned, but this area is.
Yeah.
There were some areas that
I
definitely,
think most classrooms
most
are,
classrooms are, yeah.
but
So how hot was it, like average?
when we first got there, they were in the middle of a heat wave, so it was like 100 degrees.
Wow.
But then by the time we left, I think it was about 60. So it ranges a lot, and you get used to it pretty quickly, like the heat, like, cause you do get there at the end of summer. But you get used to it, kind of.
It's a drier heat, which
Yeah.
helps a little bit. And supposedly, I think global climate change is having an impact there. There's a reason they didn't have as much AC in a lot of places because they used to get a cool breeze. They call it the doctor.
Yeah, cause you're right next to the ocean, so that breeze comes in, and if you keep your window open at night, like, it just comes in and like closes you down.
So you're like right on the beach too?
Yeah, you live like 2 blocks from the beach.
So I think historically AC has not been as necessary. They may find a shift is required a little bit if the world continues to get a little warmer. But most of the time, it's pretty darn pleasant.
Yeah.
Like 70s,
Yeah,
80s.
Yeah. You do get used to it.
Were you chilly by the time you left?
Yeah. I was
And
like
how-
in a jacket, like.
How chilly was it really?
I think of it when it's like, cause it's like the same as like first semester here, when it's like you're going from summer into winter.
Mhm.
So it's like that first time it hits 60 degrees and you're like, wow, it's like kind of cold. Rather than when it's winter going into spring and it hits 60 degrees and like you're in shorts and a t-shirt. So like, it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
At the end.
But how cold did it get? What was probably the coldest temperature you all hit?
Maybe 50. I don't remember exactly, but like 50 to 60.
That would be pretty typical for the winter, particularly on the coast.
Yeah.
You will be living in Fort Lodge. They are working on a couple different housing arrangements, but right now I think everyone will still be in Fort Lodge. Maybe a little bit with other international students, but how did you like Fort Lodge?
I loved it. It was so fun. You all get like your own room, for the most part, and so like this picture on the left, that's like the common areas. There's two big couches, and then we also eat like every Monday, but it depends semester to semester. Like we would have a community dinner, so like you wouldn't have to like pay for your dinner that night, and it would be like sometimes home cooked, sometimes like takeout. It was so good, and like everyone would just like hang out in there. And then there's like other like common spaces, like,
I have more pictures.
yeah.
More common space.
Yeah, so like that's actually my bed, that's where my bedroom was, right next to that bookshelf. So it was like, and there was all girls in there, so like we would all just like hang out and like get ready in there for the day, and it was so fun. And then that's like a like patio kind of area, not like a patio, but
You could barbecue out there.
yeah. And we attempted barbecuing until we didn't have any propane, but we tried. And then like this shelving area is like, there's just like a bunch of like sports gear and like snorkeling equipment and like bodyboards, and so you can utilize that to go to the beach, and we would do that. That's Belle. She is like the RD equivalent. And she is so fun and so cool, and she's kind of just like the house mom. Like her and her husband have like an apartment inside of Fort Lodge. So like they live there, but like have like their own space, and like she just oversees everything and like makes sure you're doing good, and like she's just so cool.
She herself was an international student.
Yeah.
There. Good. She understands. And she kept a board going with lots of interesting things that were happening.
Yeah.
And a calendar with all kinds of different activities. Oh, I didn't realize I already had this in here twice. So most of the rooms were single. There were two people, two sets.
Two sets of doubles, but depending on how many people like go, I know this past semester that they just finished, they didn't utilize those rooms because there were less students there, but we had a full house, so we did have to utilize those rooms. And then, yeah, that's just another angle of the common room. And then,
This is a different.
yeah, that's another
And this,
little.
oh yeah, this one.
So the common room is downstairs, and then those two common areas of that are both upstairs. And then this next picture, those were our RAs, and that's Emily, and she actually just told me that she got the job to be an RA for at least next semester. I don't know if it'll be next spring again.
Great.
But yeah. And then that was Jack. He actually studied abroad. He was a study abroad student last fall. And then he just loved it so much that he stayed and became an RA for our semester. So he goes to University of Portland. So I love that.
They are very nice. Very cool people. So yeah, there's no meal plan, there's no dining service like there are here with the Reef and Grucky. So there is a kitchen that's fully, as you can see, there's plenty of pots and pans and dishes and things. Everyone gets a locker. There are lockers in the fridge as well, so you can do your grocery shopping, and then your things are protected, my favorite. There were lots of fridges, lots of freezers, so. This is one of my favorite signs from visiting your dorm, was welcome to Bridgetown, the chillest place on campus. I appreciate Belle's sense of humor. So shopping, how was shopping? There are like the markets were pretty good. Sometimes the grocery store, the ones that were closer were a little bit like a little bit more high end at times.
Yeah,
But they're closer to downtown.
so yeah, IGA is the one like in Frio, and it's maybe like a 10-15 minute walk from Port Lodge. And everyone always said that it's a little bit more expensive. I personally didn't really see a difference. But I was able to get like $40 worth of groceries, which is the equivalent of like 25 here. To last me like a week or two. So I feel like it was like pretty decent. Like I just like made a plan of what I wanted to eat and like it worked out. But there are, so IGA is the one in Frio, and then there's Woolworths and Kohl's. And they're, you can take like the bus or the train to them. And, or Emily would sometimes like text us, if one of your RAs has a car like Emily did. She would like text the group chat and be like, hey, I'm making a trip, does anyone want to come with? So then I did that a couple of times, but I would mostly just shop at IGA because it was closer.
Seemed like a nice, I mean, I would.
Yeah, you really figure out your way around it and like know what you want, so it's nice. And then the Frio markets, they're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday from like 8 AM to 6 PM, about that. And it's really nice for, they have a bunch of different vendors, and so you can get like fresh fruit there and from like local farms. It's basically a farmer's market. So like,
And then art.
yeah, there's like, you can buy like clothes there and like jewelry and everything, and it's really nice. I would always get pineapple there. I had this one vendor I would go to every single week, and it was so good. But the fruit's so much better there, and it would last like the entire week. It's like you can get it.
nice.
And if you go on Sundays, after 4 or 5, so like right before they close, they will like discount everything like a lot. So then you can get like a bunch of fruit and vegetables for like pretty cheap, and it'll still like last you the entire week.
Yeah, the markets are pretty, I mean, it's just fun to go explore. There are gonna be some different, like dragon fruit is much more accessible and fresh and like, so trying a couple different things that maybe we don't get in the Midwest, or we get in such a state that it's just not the
Yeah.
same. It's just not the same. And you can buy lots of your gifts for home if you're gonna, all your things Australia. These were just some photos from around Frio. So this is one of the main strips. The markets are inside here, and then there are also art markets and other kinds of like some used clothing and stuff like that also on the wharf. So you're right next to not only a beach, but also like a harbor area. It's a pretty busy shipping area actually. So they've got some converted sheds down on the wharf, they would call them. Different things. I was like taking, we're in Minnesota, like bougainvillea, you just plant the bougainvillea next to the trash, it's fine. Like, and it's just luscious and astonishing for Minnesota. Right, and then cool art. See, I also took pictures of this, some of it.
Yeah. So that's the roundhouse, and it's like right next to Bathurst Beach. I never actually went to the roundhouse, but it's like a museum. Yeah. So it's like a museum, and if I get back to Frio, I'll definitely go check it out. And then below it is Bathurst Beach, which is the beach that is 2 blocks away from Port Lodge. The nice thing about it is, the class schedule is a lot more laid back. So you would only have class like 1 day a week. So whenever we would finish class, we would text the group chat and be like, hey, like, you wanna go to the beach? And then we'd be at the beach. Like we'd get done with class and just go straight to the beach. And then the Cappuccino Strip, there's just like a bunch of like cafes and shops on it, and it's super cute. I do recommend trying just like as many different coffee places as possible.
There are a lot,
There's a lot, and they're all so good.
no Starbucks.
No, sorry, no. There is one in Bali though, that we
A
did-
Starbucks.
Yeah, we made sure to go multiple times.
So what other trips did you go on? To Bali and-
I only went on the Bali one, and that was right before finals. We went on like a little like spring break thing, even though it was winter there. Another group went to Thailand. That was really cool. I got to like seeing all their pictures when they got back and everything. And then for one of the long weekends, a group went down to Margaret River, which is like a 2-hour drive. It's around there, but it's like down south and like there's a bunch of like wineries. And it's just like a different little part of Australia that they have that to see. There were like kangaroos in their backyard of their Airbnb. And that was cool to see.
It's gonna be, I think, Belle can help you arrange like a tour or something.
Yeah.
Let's see, also just along the coast, there's Beach, but if you continue to head south, there's beaches all the way along and like a really nice walking, running trail, biking trail. All of that. Did you make it over to Sydney? You started in Sydney, didn't you?
I didn't.
Okay.
But a couple other people did. So yeah, I forgot to mention that. Some people went to Sydney. Some people went to like the Great Barrier Reef. And that's like in Sydney. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Gold Coast.
Yeah, some people started in New Zealand. So that was really cool. And then even the little island.
Oh, Tasmania.
Yes, I was forgetting it.
Yeah.
Someone went to Tasmania and everyone kind of went everywhere.
Yeah.
Like you really have so much free reign while you're over there. It's cool.
And some of those are included in the fee?
No, those
No.
trips
Oh.
are all individual. The ones that are included here
Oh, okay.
are specific to the area around Fremantle.
Yeah.
And Perth, potentially.
Yeah.
So there's an island just off of Fremantle, which is called Rottnest Island. Maybe included, apparently it wasn't this year, sometimes it is, I will clarify that, but it has these cute little animals. Like I'm literally just koalas right next to it. Everyone gets a selfie with them. But yeah, you go to a football outing, you go to Caversham, I have the pictures of that, the prison. Did you go at night or did you?
Yeah.
Did the spooky one?
Yeah, it was really cool. I swear I caught a ghost on my camera, but no one believes me, even though I show it. But that was really cool. And we also did a hike, except none of us can remember where the hike was. We all just got on the bus super early in the morning and went for a hike.
Okay.
But yeah, so that, and that was part of our like history class
Oh,
too.
sure.
So
Sure. And then all of the gear that you can, and there's even some camping gear, so if you did individually decide, there used to be quite an industry with hop-on, hop-off buses where you could sort of go to different areas, get off, and then just catch another one looping through. COVID, of course, decimated that, but I think some of it is starting to come back, so something to keep looking for. Some more of the photos of different things. That's the prison. I don't think this is your group.
no.
Okay, whatever. No, but sometimes they have taken surfing lessons. There's Caversham. This
Oh,
is a
yeah.
wildlife park that you would go right away, pretty much, right?
Yeah, we went right at the end of a week, so at the end of orientation. It was like kind of part of a week for the international students. And another thing that, so there's this thing called Study Perth, and they would like, you like sign up for like their email list, like they like kind of like encourage the international students to sign up for it. They'll occasionally like send an email that, oh, like we're doing this thing, sometimes you have to pay, it's a very small fee if you do. I never was able to make it to any of the trips, and also UNDA will have, like I know our semester they had like snorkeling. So it was like every Wednesday you sign up and they would like teach you how to snorkel for free and then just like take you snorkeling. So, and there were like a couple other things like that, but.
Yeah, Study Perth, thank you for mentioning that. Study Perth is actually an amazing resource. They are there to support all international students at all universities there. And they do, sometimes they help with transportation from the airport. They sometimes do SIM cards when people arrive. So they are a site when you are doing research to also check out, because they have a lot of stuff for international students. And Perth, did you all make it much into Perth?
I made it a couple times, but
I mean, it's just a
yeah,
30-minute bus ride?
yeah, like 30-minute train ride, 30-minute bus.
Yeah, sorry, no, that's the train is how you mostly did it.
Yeah, cause yeah, the train, there's a train station in, well, the first stop on, first or last. Say it's the first stop on the train tracks is in Frio, and it's right across, if you remember on the map, like where the, way up in the corner, where the like gym was. If you just like go up that street a little bit, that's where the train station is and the bus station, they're both next to each other in Perth, or in Frio. And then if, so it takes you straight from Frio all the way up to Perth, and it's like 30 minutes, and there's stops in between, like. The first stop after Perth is, North Frio, and that's where Layton Beach was, so it's like, we would utilize it quite a bit.
And you get student passes, right?
Yeah, and, Bell and the RAs like helped us like fill those out, and like all brought us to go get them.
So cheaper transportation. I don't know if you all made it up to Kings Park.
I didn't personally, but I know the other like students did.
It's lovely. There's a botanical garden up there. And it's a lovely space, but it is a bit of a hike. From the train station. Just in terms of cost, all of that is online. It is online for this semester, not yet. Do we have next for 26 yet, all of the costs? So tuition stays the same. The program fee is the only thing that goes on your student account. And that covers the housing and the excursions and tuition at UNDA. And then we've divided it out into things that are typical prior to departure, things that would be costs when you arrive in country. A lot of these estimates are based on what students report to us that they have spent. So we take kind of a mid-range because there are certainly people who do a little bit more and do a little bit less, eat out more, eat out less, those kinds of things. And so extra independent travel, like, if you don't mind me asking, roughly ballpark, how much did you save and think you spent on the trip? Not counting the food, just to be in Australia.
I would say, I feel like probably about the 4,000 mark.
Okay.
With that trip to Bali. So, but it was so worth it, I'd do it again, so. But it can I can definitely be like cheaper if you wanted to be. Like I saved some money some other ways.
Yeah, you can be economic, like you can economize while you're there,
Yeah.
but you also, it's not the cheapest location, so. And Perth is, I mean, Australia is big, so transportation does. If you are seeking to have adventures further away from Perth, it is probably gonna be a flight. So just preparing and planning around those things. There are some scholarships that might be available. We'd be out there with different deadlines. We can always talk about that. Do you have any questions? This is almost the time for you.
So there's like an application fee?
There's a $300 application fee. It goes into becoming your insurance while you're there.
Okay.
So if you apply and then change your mind, you are refunded your application fee if you change your mind before you commit.
Okay,
Or if you, for some reason, didn't make it on the program. Let's say right before application, you suddenly were on academic probation, which is one of the academic probation or conduct probation are the two reasons you can't go. You would get refunded your application fee. But once you commit, it becomes non-refundable.
how many people are you thinking are estimated to come? Like,
So it
like
varies a
in the
lot.
group, okay, it does vary,
Yeah, we've had a little bit, I'm trying to think, year before you, we had 7?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, 7, and then you all were 13. And this year we have 2.
Wait, I thought it was 3.
Everybody's had a change in plans. That's all right. That sometimes happens, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, it varies quite a bit. Australia, usually one of the biggest ways that programs get promoted is word of mouth. And so whereas London, right after COVID, was able to restart and had 70 students go. So then we had a lot of people out talking about that. So it doesn't have quite as much buzz yet. We're kind of regained some of that. But you will be there if you did go and it was a smaller cohort, there's not a faculty director, so it doesn't matter if there's 1 or if there are 15. It will still run. And you will still be in the same kind of residential space, you'll still get access to all the same resources.
And like in Port Lodge, like we had people from Sacred Heart in Connecticut, well, we have 1 person from Sacred Heart in Connecticut, and then a couple people from University of Portland, and then a couple people from Notre Dame. So like we're all like living together, so like.
so you get to know them too.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like you're not, like, if you do go, like there are a girl from Sacred Heart, like she did go there alone, but then like now she has 25 new friends, so.
Yeah,
They have a supported, robust residential life piece there, so. Everyone went pretty well. There was 2 volleyball teams,
Yes,
serious competition.
one of us won the entire tournament and one of us may have lost the entire thing. But we're not gonna say it. Yeah,
It was, I mean, you all, well, I was visiting, because I happen to be able to visit, I don't get to visit every semester that everyone's abroad, but I was able to go, and there was much discussion and much needing to be on time while we've got volleyball. So I kept hearing about it, so it's a big deal. Everyone's stiff competition. So there are sessions that are available that are called like study application support sessions, study abroad application support sessions. I'll send out a link. Let you know where this recording lives in case you want to revisit it, but also it'll have a listing of all those times and places. So if you would like additional support, really, the minimum of 2.5 is, if it's under 2.5, we just want to have a discussion. Some people come into school thinking they're going to be doctors and end up being English majors, and that is sometimes a learning curve, and that shouldn't prohibit anyone from studying abroad or having these kinds of experiences. So it's just a conversation. The 2 references, one is faculty, one is a non-academic, which could still be a faculty if they were your advisor on a club, but it could also be a coach, it could be a boss, it could be somebody from high school. We don't usually encourage family members, but somebody else who knows you in a different capacity than a classroom capacity. And then there's a little bit of piece for seniority, so seniors get a little bit of a bump over maybe a first year applying for their second year. If it was a junior applying for their senior year, just because we recognize that there are limited opportunities at that. But it's in a holistic piece, so we don't look at, the only thing that would have a real significant impact would be being on probation. Are there any any other questions or any other resources or things we can answer, help with?
Just in general, like, I've gotten emailed about a couple, like, cause I've like gone into the portal and like expressed interest.
Mhm.
Even if I didn't press on like, I'm interested, would I still get emails about like the information sessions?
So the information sessions are all in my CSBS
Okay.
review. So the information, many of them were last week.
Yeah.
Like Greece is right now, and then Japan and Ireland are tomorrow.
Okay.
But there will be recordings for all of them,
Okay,
and you can always find the lovely alums. The alums are on our website, so if you click through and you can see what they've said about it, and or email them if you have specific questions, or make an appointment with the program manager who works with that program directly, specifically, so like Australia. You could come in and visit me if you had more specific questions, or if you had decided yes, and you had real questions about like what classes and how they work. We can talk through those kinds of things.
I do also recommend, I don't know if you do or not, but following CSPSU Global on Instagram.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
There's a lot of good information that like
okay,
go out.
And if you want a lovely little taste, Fort Lodge is also on Instagram,
Yes.
right? And they have, so you can see what is happening in
Okay.
West Life over there. We follow them, they follow us, I think, I don't know if they follow us, but I'm not. I don't know, I haven't paid as much attention, but I know that we follow them.
yeah,
They follow. Yeah, they follow the global account, and they follow a lot of the students who get like alongside of gone, so.
So there's a lot of things that you can see on there about what they're doing and what they're up to.
oh, thank
I
you.
know you have to run.
Yeah,
so-
unfortunately I have to go to work, but it's
I-
helpful.
Oh, wonderful. Feel free to come and see me again if you have additional questions. I'd be happy to help. And if you have questions about Australia and other programs, we can all talk about all the other programs.
Okay, that sounds good,
Thank you.
thank you, have a good night.
You too.